Now, I want to get your take on this. So I pulled up the article here on Seeking Alpha. President Biden came out yesterday, being Wednesday, and released his four-point plan that he wants to see happen within the oil industry to hopefully get costs down for the consumer. One of those being Congress should suspend the gasoline tax for 90 days, or that oil companies should use profits to increase refining capacity. And we're hearing kind of whispers from both sides, like some of these things don't really translate to a huge value-saving amount of money for the consumer, so why do it? And then also we're hearing sides where, oil refinery, creating new refinery buildings and processes for these companies, they may not see an ROI for up to 10 years, so why are they going to do that as the world is switching over to renewable energy? So what is your take on this 4-point plan?
Well, I mean, I think the thing, right? If you suspend the gasoline tax, for 90 days, that's a temporary stopgap measure. Maybe it helps consumers a little bit, but at the end of the day, the United States needs that tax revenue to hopefully invest in roads and infrastructure. That has to be in place. I think the bigger issue is, refining capacity. United States, we're running at 94% refining capacity right now on the utilization rate. So there's not a lot of spare capacity available. We've lost 700, 800,000 barrels per day of refining capacity since 2016. Half of that has been conversions to renewable diesel, so we can't go back on that at this point. And the other half is in a state of disrepair. Once refineries kind of shut these things down, they have needs elsewhere in their network. They'll kind of strip them for parts. There's a lot of costs involved in getting these things back online. So that's multi-year kind of effort to get some of these legacy assets back into place. And with the administration still is very antagonistic, I guess would be my worry when it comes to the energy industry. I think the end goal still is to focus on renewables and kind of do this energy transition shift. So that's, as you said, that's the big thing. Why should any refinery owner kind of invest in growing capacity when the administration is increasing its tax benefits for electric vehicles and these kind of things? So there's going to be excessive losses in gasoline demand if those kind of things come to pass. So they're going to be creating an oversupply situation for themselves. So the ROI is just not going to be there on a multi-year timeline.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are starting to feel this at the pump, right? You hear that in the headlines all the time. News is saying, hey, consumers are feeling this at the pump. If you have a truck, you're filling up for over $100 every time you have to fill up. People are traveling again more now. People are going back to the office for work. They're obviously spending more in gasoline, and there's a lot of demand there. And we spoke at the end of March about you saying that by the end of the year, you're expecting gasoline prices to come down a little bit. I'm just kind of curious, do you still feel that way?
I mean, I think you have to, there's a differentiation here, right? You have refining profits, and then you have the actual price of the gas pump, right? And if you look at wholesale prices out in the future for gasoline and diesel, they do come down a little bit. But I think the big thing to remember is that's all a function of the expectation that we'll have lower crude oil prices in the future. So at the end of the day, 65% of the cost of a gallon of gas when you fuel up at your local gas station, that's driven by the underlying price of crude. So if we do see kind of this moderation in strip prices over the next couple months and into the end of the year, where we see kind of prices move down, back to $90, $85 a barrel, you're going to see some relief at the pump. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter necessarily for the refiners, who are going to be seeing the exact same profit margins per gallon of diesel or gasoline that they produce.
It's definitely interesting how things can change so rapidly, right? Like I feel like it almost feels like yesterday when oil went negative during the pandemic, right? And now we're at the other side of this spectrum where things have completely changed. And I'm thinking, what if investors want to get involved right now? Obviously they've seen the run up. Have they already missed the boat, or are there still good opportunities within the energy sector? And do you have perhaps a name that you can share with them?
Watch the full episode to hear Michael Boyd's thoughts on the energy sector. You can find it at youtube.com/seekingalpha.